Okay, welcome to the March meeting of Scottsdale Parent Council. And we'll go ahead and get started by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, up next we have our land acknowledgement. As we gather for this meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we do our business today. We wish to acknowledge this land on which this SBC meeting is taking place. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Hohokam, the Akimel O'odham, and most recently, the Salt River Pima Indian community. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many indigenous people from across Maricopa, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on this land. Okay, so to go over our agenda, we'll start off with a question and answer session with Dr. Menzel, and then we're actually going to have one committee update after our Q&A with Dr. Menzel, because the chair of the Special Education Committee is a parent and a teacher, but she's actually on campus for another meeting, so she can stop by and give that update. Then we'll hear from the SUSD Foundation, and then the stars of the show will learn about the SUSD Crisis Canine Program and the SRO program. And then we'll finish the meeting with the remaining executive board updates and any announcements from our school reps. Okay, so I have a basket here. If you have not given me your index card, can you bring it up? Okay, first one is, what is the potential impact to teacher retention and hiring given Tom Horn's, quote, reporting hotline? What can we in the community do to support district teacher recruitment or retention?
It's a fair question, and the answer is it remains to be seen what the impact will be. So there are a lot of people who have taken action to call the empowerment hotline to say good things about teachers. There are other people who have called to report. The question is, there are multiple parts of the question, right? So Superintendent Horn talked about not wanting teachers to address social emotional learning. That's not something for which your teaching credential can be pulled. But if teachers are going to get reported for things that are not reportable offenses and be investigated, that will have a chilling effect on being able to attract and retain teachers. There is a process. If someone has a concern about something that a teacher has done, that's handled locally within every school district. So the empowerment hotline is one of those things that feels like it's circumventing those normal channels for investigating issues and concerns within a local district. And I do think it has the potential to cause people who want to teach to be concerned about teaching here in Arizona because of that.
So when did the governing board receive the agenda for last night's meeting?
So we had spring break last week, so they received the agenda probably the first draft, maybe March 9th. They certainly had things by March 10th. There were a couple of additions that came during the week of spring break. So the full agenda probably, that I'd have to go back and check, but sometime during spring break. But they had the outline of the agenda just before spring break.
Okay. This is a multi-part question. At last night's board meeting, board members Karen Warner and Amy Carney blocked the employment actions of over 200 employees in order to block the hiring of Mr. Pantier as principal of Chaparral. Can you explain the hiring process for, I'm going to read all the questions and we'll go back and answer them. Can you explain the hiring process for a principal? What role do governing board members play in hiring positions other than yours, the superintendent position? And why does the governing board vote on the positions on the agenda? Okay, so the first one was, can you explain the hiring process for a principal?
So, yes, I can. Next question. Just kidding.
Tell us about the hiring process for a principal.
There are two parts that I think are relevant here. One, there's a process for hiring a principal, but there's also a process. You might remember Mr. Pantier has been serving as the interim principal this year because we had a late departure. Todd Dryford left, I think, notified us in May. So that was not sufficient time to post and interview and hire. So He served as interim. Our commitment at the time was that we would conduct a process like we've done when we've had other interim principal assignments. And that there have been multiple. Dr. Sakos has been here for most of them, and that includes engaging with the staff at the building, engaging with the parent community at the building, identifying what the desired traits are of the next principal, and discussing the extent to which the person who's been interim, if they're interested in being permanent, aligns with the desired traits that have been identified by the staff and the parent community within that school. In the case of Chaparral, we made a commitment at the time that we appointed Mr. Pantier to serve in that role that we would do one step further. So in some of the other situations where we had an interim, so Todd Dreifert was an interim and became the permanent principal. There wasn't an interview process for anyone else at that time. There was consensus that we could remove interim and keep him in that role. Because there was at least one other internal person interested in the Chaparral principalship, we made a commitment that we would post internally, interview any qualified internal applicants, and then make a recommendation to the governing board if there was an internal candidate that was the recommendation of the interview team. If not, then we would post externally. And there's a very strategic reason for that. When you post a position, like a principal position or a superintendent position, if there's an interim or an internal candidate people know, it generally has a depressing effect on external applicants, because people who do their homework say, well, if there's an internal, does that person have an inside leg? And why would I spend the time, energy to put my material in and then find out that it was already a done deal? So we did a two-step process. We didn't need to do the second step because it was a unanimous recommendation of the interview committee to move Mr. Pantier forward. And then there was a second round of interviews with me, with Alexis Wilson, and Dr. Sakos before we finalized the recommendation to the governing board.
Okay, so the second question is, what role do governing board members play in hiring positions other than your position?
So they play a direct role in hiring and evaluating the superintendent. I'm the direct employee for the board, but as a governing board, they are responsible for approving all hiring recommendations. So that's consistent. You'll see that on personnel action items. It is unusual for any personnel item to be pulled off separately. That hasn't happened that I recall since I've been here. There have been questions about personnel items, and that's legit in terms of wondering, okay, what happened here, whether it's a resignation, termination, or a hiring decision. If they've got questions about that, governing board members typically will ask those before a meeting, and then we can provide additional information so they understand the process that we followed in order to get to the recommendation that's in the personnel agenda.
Why does the governing board, I guess this is sort of it, why does the governing board vote on the positions on the agenda?
So at the end of the day, it helps ensure accountability, because every position, every action there has budgetary implications, and the board ultimately is responsible for the overall budget, and so the personnel action items need to align with the budget that was approved, and so it creates that coherence organizationally.
Are we losing more teachers than in previous years? This is also a multiple question. Are there plans to increase pay for teachers that qualify for retirement to encourage them to stay? And can we provide a significant stipend to experienced teachers that train new teachers?
So, I can't say that we're losing more teachers than we have before. It's still, there's some level of churn, so we know of some planned retirements. We know of some resignations. We don't know how many more there may be. And so we'll have to analyze that. It's still in process. And I hope by the end of the month I'll have some internal data to compare with state and national averages on unfilled positions. But in terms of that churn, I can't answer that at this juncture. I can say that with the most recent agreement that the governing board approved for our certified staff in particular, the base increased by 2%. But what's significant in what was approved is that there's equivalent, I'll call it a longevity payment. It might have a different name in the agreement. So for individuals who are with Scottsdale from 0 to 8 years, there's an additional $1,650 that they receive. Between 9 and 14 years, there's $2,500 more. Anyone who's worked with us consecutively for 15 or more years gets $4,500 more. So that's on top of the 2%. That's not inconsequential. And so if you think about how do you value people who have committed their career to Scottsdale, that was our attempt to do that, to acknowledge and recognize their years of service. And if you think about retirement and final average compensation, getting that $4,500 on top of the 2% and extend that over several years could have a positive benefit on the final average compensation. So that would be part of the strategy that was implemented this year.
With today's climate issues, what plan do we have to educate our future generation about climate and sustainable energy?
I was trying to figure out, is this culture and climate in a building, or is this like global climate? So this is about global climate. I mean, there are standards throughout our science curriculum that address the factors that relate to climate change and other things. And so I think that's embedded in the curriculum. What was the other part of the question?
What plans do we have to educate our future generations about climate and sustainable energy?
Well, I think that there are a lot of opportunities and natural areas of discourse. So in Arizona and Scottsdale, we live in a desert. It doesn't feel that way today. And Flagstaff certainly doesn't feel that with the amount of snow they've had. But you know, from a water conservation standpoint, there's an opportunity to learn what does it mean when you're the fastest growing metropolitan area in the country and you have a potential water supply issue with the Colorado River. That's real place-based learning opportunities. The McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy and our partnership with them gives students an opportunity to understand our ecosystem in the desert and how humans in the desert impact that ecosystem. And so we've got those learning opportunities from field trips at 3rd grade through more intentional and intensive work at 7th grade. And then we've got some opportunities that we're doing with partnership on the campus of Saguaro High School this year, but we expect to expand to the others. So those are some examples. If the city of Scottsdale's got an amazing water reclamation project, it's state of the art, great opportunity for kids to learn and understand, you know, how we can do some things differently. Desalinization plants, interesting idea. Very expensive proposition. Seems like common sense. You just take the salt out of the water and we'll be good. It's not that simple. So there are opportunities to align those conversations with the science standards in a way that kids can relate to. Solar panels, you see them everywhere. But there's a question about what's the return on that investment. You know, people will sell them for your house. They put them on parking lots. Have our storage capacity for solar energy developed to the point where the return on investment is worth it. So there are lots of opportunities to look at all of the ways in which things that we see around us impact, you know, the environment, impact, you know, choices that we make, and how that aligns with the standards that we're teaching.
Okay. A recent email directing parents to a thought exchange referenced an ASU study on the economic impact of SUSD. What is that study, and will it be made available?
So we contracted with ASU's, is it Seidman, to do a study not only on the return on investment related to our impact on the local economy. You know, as a district, we spend a lot of money. Our $300+ million budget, it's $400 million depending on where you count the bond expenditures. There's an impact on our community. So there's one part of the analysis is what's that impact. The other is what's the impact of our graduates. You know, so the impact of an SUSD education on the larger economy. So the study looked at those various components. It started with a lit review, so it's very academic and technical. Then it looked at, you know, what is the return on investment related to our impact, and how do we quantify that in ways that make sense. The study is in draft form currently, and we are in the process of finalizing it. I think we've got a meeting with the research team at ASU next week. I'm looking at Christine because she's been the quarterback on helping us get this across the finish line. And yes, it will be made available once the draft is final.
Okay, so that was all of our
That's it?
questions. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, and shout out to our SRO team. Thank you for being here, and our crisis canines, and the foundation for all the support for making that possible.
Larissa, are you here?
Good morning. I'm here just to plug a couple special education events that we're having. We're going to tomorrow do a transition fair. That is our transition from high school to post-high school, and it shows the different opportunities that are available for children, all the way from just doing like a pull-out program, which we call LRC, to what my son did, which he spent the majority of his time in special ed. So it gives different opportunities and ranges of what is out there, because I don't think parents know a lot of what is available. So this is very impressive that Scottsdale does this. I know a lot of other districts don't provide this information. I will plug, if you know anybody who has children is getting ready to graduate high school, if they're interested in the job transition program called SCORE, please feel free to have them reach out to me, and I can tell them how amazing and awesome it is, because Bailey has been extremely successful in that program. And then, did you have, yes, and then so speaking about transitions, and then in April, end of April, we're gonna have the transition discussion from elementary to middle, and then middle to high school. And I cannot say enough, as a special ed parent, when it was explained to me how high school's functioning and preparation for post-high school is different than what I experienced in the K-8, I went in with a different expectation, different viewpoint than if I had just expected them to continue doing what they had done in the K-8 setting. High school's a different experience for all kids, but especially for our special ed kids, and how we prepare them is really essential. And so I have advocated that we get parents this information. And then also going from elementary to middle to high, you know, it can be a change for parents. So please share. If you know people, let them know about it. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a special guest. We're going to hear from the SUSD Foundation.
Thank you for having us here today. My name is Kristen Cox.
And I'm Juliana Norval,
And we're here with the SUSD Foundation. I've been on the board for about 6 years.
and I've been on the board for 7.
Yeah. One of the differences between SPC Council versus SUSD Foundation is we support all 29 schools. And we raise funds. Our mission, actually, if you want to go ahead, we have a slide here, yeah. That's our board. I'll go ahead and, well, actually go back to the first one. We have about 15 or so on our board. We are all from different corporations throughout the organization, throughout Arizona. And we are we're a working board. We do it voluntarily. You can see there's just a picture from our golf tournament last year. So go ahead and flip. What I want to say, though, our mission is to provide every student and educator with the opportunity to achieve educational excellence. And you can see some of our goals there. I'm not going to read them all, but it is truly to promote education and every opportunity we can throughout the district. So.
All right, so first on the list, one of our favorite programs is helping support the SRO K-9 program that has been launched in the last few years across the district, which I think you might be hearing from shortly. So here are some snapshots of the different K-9s that we've helped fundraise for throughout the district, with a new addition soon to come on board, or just coming on board right now.
Copper.
Copper. So we got Captain, Copper, and Rocket.
Yeah, in fact, our goal, I think, on that one is to provide five dogs throughout the district. We've got 3 right now, and we've helped the fun. Well, I don't want to steal their thunder, but it's
Yes, we do. No.
yeah, they'll just say they're awesome if you haven't met them. So.
All right, and the next one that we've been partnering with is the Bioscience Initiative, TGen and Honor Health. So it's a program that we've been a proud supporter of, helping get the healthcare and sciences programs and get kids exposure to those professions, as well as training for the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, well, we quit. There's middle school and teachers, I mean, that's a really good opportunity. They get a couple of days to interact with some of the honor health workers, doctors and professionals, to realize there's more beyond just being a doctor within that community.
All right. Another one of our newer contribution has been launching the Innovation Center at Saguaro High School. So we helped fund to renovate the existing building that you see on the left into this state-of-the-art innovation center that's accessible by the whole district, although it's housed at Saguaro. So it provides STEM activities and equipment for all students in the community to utilize. And it's helped, we've had a lot of great camps come out of it, like was it Sisters in STEM? And
Sisters in STEM to help encourage females to get involved within innovation. I've got Cyber Patriot Teams, students, that's a student-led organization that works out of the innovation. It's really interesting is even some of the kids have created, there's a book that then, if you guys wrote, they created a book where you had kids, what's the name of the book? Nan knows.
If you go to the next slide.
Okay,
it'll
talk
show
about that.
it.
There you go, Sisters in STEM, Cyber. Jada Saves the Day. We've got to see the students that wrote this. They literally wrote this book with the words, had an illustrator go and craft this and do this book for kids K through 7. But the Innovation Center was $1.5 million for the district. We helped give $150 million or $150,000 for that. And it's just really to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship throughout the school district. So. It's really, really interesting.
I just want to say, if you go back a minute, that CyberGen program that is one of the outcomes of the Innovation Center at Saguaro. It's about cybersecurity, and all these are student generated. The students go to the teachers in that specific academic area and say, how about this? What if we do this? And so during COVID and everybody was online, they were like, we need to do something about cybersecurity and being safe online. So that's the outcome of Jada Saves the Day. And then CyberGen is students felt that they needed to help senior citizens with cybersecurity and identity theft and all those other pieces. So these are student-generated programs. It's not where the teacher says, I think we should do this. They come to them and they generate those ideas. So it's pretty spectacular what these students have done. And this Jada Saves the Day, it's a book series that they're working on getting published and wanting to get copies of it in every elementary, library, learning center, classrooms across the district, talking about, because there is nothing out there for our younger students and about cybersecurity. So I'm just so proud of our students. So.
thanks, Nan.
This is the same thing. This is at the Innovation Center. So even though it's housed at Saguaro, other schools can use it, and Pueblo Elementary is one of the closer. So there's a makerspace in there for fourth graders that they come over in the afternoon and use the space and get hands-on experience. And you can see some examples there of what it's really, really neat opportunity.
Yeah, they have like 3D printers, all these really cool equipment that's accessible for the students.
What they're hoping to do is expand it to other elementary buildings. The issue is transportation, and getting that time. So there's a financial issue in there as well. But trying to just bring in students from across the district to do programs at the Innovation Center. So we'll continue. It's time. It's about time, trying to, because what you've got is you've got these educators, Mr. Brandt and Ms. Lindbergh, and they're teaching at Saguaro High
So Camp Invention, there are various camps throughout the summer, and then I think sometimes after school that we help support. Same thing, to encourage students to become more confident and learn about different varieties of, just being together with different students. That's about.
All right, and one of the other initiatives we've been working with is at Coronado High School. So it's about bringing community members throughout different professional sectors to speak with the students over lunch and to, educate them more about different career opportunities post-graduation. So some of the events that we had last year, one was focused on healthcare, another was focused on business and construction, and a third on technology. So we'll have kind of a boxed lunch that we bring in for the students, and then have give them the opportunity to network with these professionals. And it's something that we're looking forward to expanding across the district outside of Coronado High School in the future, moving forward in the future.
And this is a fun one. Just recently, we helped fund Coronado High School, the orchestra, allowing them to go to New York City. And they just went a couple weeks ago. But it was the first time some of these kids had even been on a plane. Some of them have never been to New York, and it was really exciting to see, as you guys can imagine, raising funds and giving them to provide an opportunity for these kids to just see, what was the name of the hall? Carnegie Hall. For them to see that and experience that was just amazing, so.
And they did bring back a couple of trophies.
Nice. Yeah, that was rewarding.
Excited.
Yeah. I love New York in the back. I didn't see that before. That's cool. It just continues.
Yeah.
Nan, what about this one?
So
Good.
the reason why I put in this slide is to let you know that we, and talking about special ed, that we support all students, whether they're gifted, whether they're special needs, whether they're everything in between. And this was Rainbow Honey. It kind of goes along with SCORE. And so you can see some of the special ed students. Rainbow Honey, I don't know if you've tried it. It's amazing. They sell it, I think, at AJ's. They also sell it at Homo. But they have a little store down in Tempe. I'm gonna go where my landmarks, Spinatos, if anybody's been to Spinatos down there. It's kind of in that area. You can Google it. And their honey is amazing. And they have products for dogs, but it's all for, and Dr. Sackles might, help me out if I get it wrong. It was for a student who was autistic at, I think, Desert Mountain High School, and their parents wanted to provide opportunities for him to have a working career type situation. And so they created this Rainbow Honey business. And not only is their son then working there and involved in making something tangible, but also provides other opportunities for other students. So it's amazing honey. So if you get an opportunity to try it, support it then. So it's a great program.
All right, and then more district-wide support. We help provide Starbucks cards for new additions to the SUSD team each year, just as a little welcome present. We've helped supported the Welcome Back rally each year, and each board member on our foundation has a partnership with at least 2 schools where we help bring them treats throughout the year, from like donuts to fruit, Costco baskets with treats, just to know that they're supported and we're always thinking of them if they need a quick little snack pick me up in between classes. So anything I missed there?
No, I think you did good. You did well.
How do we make it possible?
Yeah, how do we make it possible? So every year we have 2 main fundraisers. The Quest for Excellence Golf Tournament, and I've actually helped lead this one for the last 5 years, which we're actually, and thank you, Dr. Sakos. She's going to send out, we're going to have one April 18th, which is a Tuesday, but we're going to have it at Mountain Shadows. And it's a fundraiser golf tournament where we have a variety of folks come and play golf and raise funds for the Scottsdale Unified School District. And then the fall, we also have, in the past, we've had all fun and games night. But it's another, in fact, Dr. Menzel's not here. A different event, just kind of a play on, we did Monopoly and different games you could play in the fall. So those are our two main fundraisers where we raise funds. And like I said, those all go back to the different schools within the SUSD district.
We also have strategic partnerships like with the Farmley Family Charitable Foundation. So they really help some of our main initiatives, such as that one with Honor Health and
And the
Healthcare
Innovation Center.
Innovations.
Canine.
Oh,
And the canine, that's true,
yes.
too.
So it's a big partnership, and we're really appreciative of their support.
And I think there's a QR code in case you want to take a look at our website. Yeah. So, that is it.
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thanks for
We
having us.
appreciate it.
It helps because it's on YouTube. Is this your Citizen Academy? Okay. No, it's just the slides, so you actually, so they can see or use the slides. Okay, so I'm a Mac person. Where do I play it? Slideshow?
At the bottom, next to the minus sign. To the left.
There we go, okay. All right.
Is there a clicker?
Yep.
She broke her.
I did.
Up here. Yes.
Well, please consume wherever you want. You have the clicker right.
My hands are a little full, so I'm sure I'll let it walk around. Good morning. I'm Officer Devin Lines. I'm the SRO over at Chaparral High School, and that's my counterpart, Rocket. This is Officer David Steele and his partner, Copper. He's here at Mojave, and then Officer Mike Yavello and his invisible partner. He's up at Mountainside Middle School and also cover multiple other schools.
Yeah, I have Cheyenne and Anasazi as well, and like today I have DM too, so.
And ignore that it says Citizens Academy. I forgot to change that. So just to give some background on school resource officers and programs. The first program to have police officers in school was actually in Michigan in 1950. The first in Arizona, which was the second in the nation, was Tucson in 1963. And then Scottsdale PD was the sixth in the nation, and we started in 1988. And our whole goal as SROs, I'm sure all of your kids that are in our various SUSD schools have met their SRO or have seen a presentation or met one of our dogs. Our goal isn't to be in the schools and arrest kids and catch all this crime. Our goal is to mentor and teach and build community relations and break barriers with the kids and build these nice positive relationships. And also, be there for the safety factor, but our biggest thing is building those relationships. So as an SRO, we have kind of like four roles. Obviously, first and foremost, we're law enforcement officers, but we're also teachers, counselors, role models, mentors. Obviously, you guys all know what police officers are and what we do. Law enforcement's always our top priority, keeping the school safe, investigating any crimes that happen on campus. Sometimes crimes happen off campus or over the weekends, and it gets reported to us on Monday. And we'll investigate those and work with the kids and their families and do everything we can to help. Rocket, hey, the people are over here. He likes to explore. And we'll also leave campus to respond to emergencies that happen near the school to try to prevent it from maybe coming onto campus. We'll also work heavily with our detectives to arrange interviews and help processes go as smoothly as possible to help our students and their families. And then obviously any community issues. I know at Chaparral, parking is the biggest community issue. And all the kids parking in the surrounding neighborhoods and parking lots. So I deal a lot with the HOAs and property managers of the various communities to try to
keep our kids' cars from being towed, and get some good parking. Teacher, I know this is my favorite thing to do at Chaparral, just getting into classes and teaching and kind of, humanizing the badge and show that we're not just there to investigate crimes. I know I go into a lot of the government classes and do search and seizure, and like constitutional law for the kids. So maybe go into a math class, do like collision diagrams and all that stuff. But each of us, them being primarily at middle and elementary schools, will obviously teach very different classes and do a lot of different stuff. Hey, Dave. We'll talk about some stuff you teach since he's away from his mic.
Some of the things that we've talked about, especially, I know I've done this with kids coming back from COVID and all the time that they spend at home. I've done some stuff on teaching kids about, especially my elementary school kids, about conflict resolution, because that seems to be something that's everybody's lost the habit of. Internet safety is also a really big thing. Social media, even up into the high school level, Snapchat's the devil. Social media is the bane of my existence. I'm not even going to be shy about that. If we could kill social media right now, I'd be super happy, as would all of your SROs and a lot of parents. I'm getting a lot of nods and laughs out there. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing we can tell you about that is monitor your kids' social media very closely and assume that your kids are smarter than you are when it comes to this. Oh, thank you. And stuff like that. We do some stuff, especially with our older kids, the 8th graders, about, I know I do, about how to interact with the police, things to do. I think, do you guys do stuff like that in the high schools too? Yeah. Our whole role is to not be the bad guy and to influence this generation of kids to let them know, hey, it's okay to talk to the police. We're not the bad guy. We're here to help. That's the thing that we're trying to get away from. We walk out in public and we have folks go, ooh, there's a police officer, you better behave or he's going to take you to jail. I've gotten to the point that I really don't like it when people say that, because that's not the message that we're trying to get out. Yes, there is that when they're adults and they're responsible for their actions, but as kids, no, I want the kids coming up to me. I want to be able to give kids stickers and have that positive experience. So, David, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, like, hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't really talk very loud. But everybody hears about that whole school to prison pipeline thing. That's not why we're in the schools. We're in the schools to actually try to prevent, in a way, from them ending up in prison and having their names in the criminal justice system. That's why we have our restorative justice program. So if you guys don't know what that one's about, that's about where it's basically, I call it the one-time get out of jail free card, because kids do make mistakes, right? Everybody was a kid. I'm sure you guys maybe drank alcohol or something when you were younger and you weren't supposed to, or smoked a cigarette or did something stupid that you can get in trouble for. Well, with our restorative justice program, they can do that and they don't end up in our system, because what we do is it bypass the court and they go through the same type of diversion program. But once they pass everything, it basically purges it out of the system, so they're not in the system. And I've, even with principals and stuff, sometimes maybe they want somebody charged for something, but we're not trying to get them charged for stuff. We're trying to, make sure that they learn from their mistakes, even with truancy stuff. So, but the other things we do, like you said, some of the coolest things is where kids will actually come up to you and they feel comfortable talking to you. I had a child abuse kid that we went to the house. A person had saw the kid standing outside the house. He had black and blue face, and he said the only reason he opened the door for the police is because he saw me, because he knew I was the SRO. I also had another kid who had a family member die. The guy was basically like his stepdad. And this kid, we had a good relationship where we would just talk or say hi or whatever, but I didn't know that the relationship I had with him was good enough that he actually emailed me that night, was super upset, didn't know what to do. And so the next morning I saw the email, went over and talked with him. We ended up finding out the reason his stepdad didn't come home because he got killed in a car accident. I got the kid in touch with his psychologist, the school nurse, and we also got him in our Sirens and Sleigh Bells shopping program that year too, so because it was right around the same time as his birthday. And then the other things we do, I always tell the SROs, with our backgrounds, I have an art background, a photography background, a sports background, and music background. So you can use those backgrounds to interact with the class. I go to the classes and draw with the kids. I'll go play football with the kids. The music stuff I do, I go play guitar with the kids, and then we put on like little concerts and stuff here with the kids. So there's all types of that stuff that you can do to interact with those kids so they know that what they see there is what we actually are, not what they just see on the news where there's a lot of negativity and stuff, and they just think the police are one way, where here they actually get to see that we're real people and know that we are just not what you see on TV, so.
So Dave kind of touched on every single role that we do. I just wanted him to talk about his guitar playing, but it's okay. It's okay. Obviously, like you talked about, we do counsel and mentor. And like I said, it's really cool when a kid wants to come into the police officer's office to talk about something, kind of decompress, where instead of going to their counselor, instead of going to a principal or a teacher, they knock on your door and say, hey, can I just talk to you about life? And that's, it feels so rewarding knowing that you've built that level of trust with the students that they'd rather talk to a cop than their counselor or teacher or friend or something like that. And just ask for life advice and talk about different things they're going through. The restorative justice program, Dave also touched on, so he kind of did the whole presentation for me, which is awesome. But yeah, it's for our first-time offenders, the kids that are 17 and younger that haven't had any prior interactions with police or negative interactions. We can put them through that program. There's no cost to them or their families. They'll attend some counseling, do some community service, and really learn from their mistakes as to opposed to just going to the courtroom, paying a fine to the court, and then that's it. They didn't really get to learn from it. Their parents ended up just cutting a check. So we're all huge fans of this program. We're super lucky that Scottsdale was kind of able to pioneer it back in the day. And I'm sorry, a bunch of other agencies jumped on this in the Valley.
Yeah, 2016 is when we developed the program, and quite a few have tried to eliminate it or work with it, do something with it, but the issue is it is so time consuming. That's not so proud of our department for putting this together, because we had to work with the county attorney, we had to work with them and make sure it was okay, because they had never heard of a program where you take away a drug offense and allow it to be let the juvenile learn from it and bypass the court. So a lot has been done, and again, we have a great asset here with Youth and Family Services, which is a program in the city that's available for anyone that lives in the city, and they can do counseling, where they have a wide variety of stuff to help juveniles with issues and stuff going on. So we kind of use them as our go-to. So unfortunately, not all cities have some of those resources and for it to work, but they take parts of it and go into that. But we get calls from all over the country on how this program works. We get asked to speak about this program all over the country because it has been so successful. And the recidivism that we see that these kids go through, again, we can only track a few years because just like Jonathan said, it gets completely expunged from the record. So even though it goes into our police system, we actually delete that from our system. So it's not even there for someone to search 20 years later. But, you didn't cut it or something. It gets taken out of the system. So we can only track it so long, but the time that we can track, we see what these kids are going through their mistakes. We're proud of it.
Yeah, I'd say out of the, dozens, if not, close to 100 kids that I've put through it, I've maybe seen 2 get in trouble again. So it is an awesome learning experience, and doesn't cost the family anything, which is nice. And now the best part of this presentation, our Crisis K-9 program. So back in 2007, 2008, Scottsdale PD became the first police agency in North America to have a full-time Crisis K-9. His name was Fozzie Bear. He was a giant golden retriever like Rocket. And since then, Scottsdale PD has helped dozens, if not hundreds, of other police agencies begin their own Crisis K-9 programs to work with victims of crimes, mental health issues, whatever it might be. I think Canada now has like 60 full-time teams. And it was cool that it all started here in Scottsdale. So after working as a school resource officer for a few years, I really started to see the strain that mental health has on the kids, especially when we had COVID happening and all that stuff, and it often goes kind of unrecognized or not acknowledged by society that kids are struggling with things too. So I thought, what can we do to help this on our campuses? So I attended some mental health trainings and saw some interesting data that says our general youth population, that 20% of our youth have a diagnosable mental health condition. And then we look at our juvenile justice system, that around 70% of juveniles that are in the justice system have a diagnosable mental health condition. So I saw that, and I conducted a survey with a bunch of counselors, just say, in any given week, how many kids are reporting stress, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, whatever it might be. And we came up with the number of about 5% are actively seeking help for what they're going through. So it's great that 5% is seeking help, but the 15% that aren't seeking help are the ones that I'm worried about. So we thought, what can we do to make a positive impact on all students and potentially reach the 15% that aren't getting help? So we brought some real life teddy bears to campus. There's Rocket on the left, and on the right is Captain. He's down at Coronado High School. So we kicked off our program in January of 21. We were the second in the state. Somehow Tucson beat us, but we're okay. First in Maricopa County. And every day, we're still doing our normal school resource officer duties. We're walking campus, we're dealing with crime, we're doing investigations, but now we have, a major conversation piece walking next to us that all these kids want to come up and talk to and say hi to, and through that, now our dogs act as a bridge to communication. Now we can talk to this kid that maybe would have never approached a police officer before. So I know, just like my first week when we got Rocket, I'd been on that campus for years at that point, but there were still kids that, would never walk up to me. And now every day they're coming up and saying hi, talking to Rocket, asking me how my day is. And now we can build that relationship and start to get to know each other. We work closely with our counselors and psychologists. A lot of times the counselor will call me and say, hey, can you swing by my office? I've got a kid who's going through something. We'll go over there, Rocket will just lay on the floor with them, and they can kind of pet the dog and decompress and relax. The bottom is data that I came up with, so I have zero facts behind this. But since beginning the program, I feel like I've seen, at least personally, a decrease in kind of emotional breakdowns on campus. And I also noticed a decrease in crime happening on campus. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but I'm going to say it's all because of Rocket. Sounds better that way. We also got some major news coverage once we got our dogs. And through that, I got police departments reached out to me from all over the East Coast and all around the nation that wanted to start programs like we were doing here. So it's pretty cool. We were able to send them our policies, all of our data, and help them get started with getting their own program going. This was our very first success story. It was our second week working. Counselor asked us to come into their office. There was a student that was going through something, and after about 10 minutes, does he have a ball? He's obsessed with like stress balls. So we went in there, Rocket laid. Rocket sat with the kid. After about 10 minutes, the student said, I feel good, I'm ready to go back to class. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know what they were going through. And then later on, I got an email from the parent saying that when their child is going through one of these episodes, that it usually takes them 1 to 2 hours to calm down and be able to continue learning and go about their day. And with them getting to pet a dog and decompress, it only took about 10 minutes to get them back to class, which was really cool. This is our first full year of having Rocket and Captain operational. Our crisis usage, we worked with about 609 citizens over the course of 96 sessions. And total time was about 43 hours that our dogs were working with people. Our outreach, that's just like our fun interactions. Almost 4,000 citizens and about 116 hours. And then classroom visits between the two of them, about 850 classroom visits. And a lot of times, we're just walking down the hallway, a door is open, and we'll just pop into the class, say hi, let the dogs do a quick round to say hi to everybody, give the kids a little break from whatever they're working on, and then we take off to the next class. We got a ton of news stories. And what's also really cool is, by us having these dogs, we're able to assist other agencies and other schools around the valley. Personally, I got to go work with Gilbert PD, Chandler PD, MCSO, Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, and Salt River when they had a traumatic incident involving their officers or a line of duty death. So we got to go and help those officers and those dispatchers with our canines, which is really cool. And then actually recently we got reached out to from a school district in Gilbert that had a student pass away, and they didn't have any resources or anything like we have here, so we were able to go spend a couple days in Gilbert working with all of those students and teachers, which was really cool. And that's the end of our regular scheduled program. Any questions? Yeah.
Well, first as a comment, I wanted to say, thank you for coming, and also one of your original slides was talking about how you support the community around a school.
Thank you. And I'm Andrea Augustine with Cheyenne Traditional. And I wanted to say thank you to Officer Yavello and the Scottsdale PD because we had a concern in the neighborhood just around the school. It wasn't even at the school. And they were so quick to respond, so quick to address the issue. There was follow-up. I mean, just really nipped it in the bud. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. And the other question I had is, how do we get one at our school?
Well, since it's my school, I'll talk about
Yeah.
that. You're welcome. Yeah, we had an incident that was just off campus where we had an individual who was acting suspiciously around a business, talking to kids in what I would consider a creepy and inappropriate manner. So I heard about it. One of our patrol officers put it out, who happens to have a spouse who works at Cheyenne. And it got a lot of attention very quickly, and that matter actually has been handled. I don't know if you got any follow-up on that. As for, that's a good question. I'll let him talk about that.
So I'm Sergeant Bainham. I'm the school resource unit supervisor. Before Devin took over Chaparral, I was the school resource unit officer at Chaparral for 8 years, and then promoted, did patrol for a while, and then came back to the schools. And I'll start off by saying I came back to schools. I've been a decade now with the schools, and I can speak to all my officers. It's a passion for us to work with these students and kids. And even though some of you may deal with one of your kids and one of our officers where it just was a bad situation, it's on a bad day. We're dealing with them on a bad day, and it's not always going to be the most positive experience. But allowing us to be there in the schools, we all have stories, and I have tons of stories. I still have students that contact me, invite me to their weddings and stuff like that from back in the day because of the impact that I made on their lives, and sometimes not even knowing those impacts I made until later on. But allowing us to continue to work with these students, it's great. So it is a great benefit, and we would love to get SROs in every school. The biggest issue with recently, after Uvalde, of course, a lot of school districts and private schools have been reaching out for us, and with any law enforcement agency in the U.S. right now, it's been staffing has been an issue. We are starting to see that change now for us here in Scottsdale. Some other agencies, not so much in the valley, but us, we're starting to see that uptrend. So we're getting those, we're having those conversations. But of course, it's a money issue. If you guys aren't aware, the Scottsdale Unified pays for a partial of our salary to be there, and that's why we're there for you all the time. And to get more officers there, it's just going to be a money issue in the long run and a staffing issue. But we are having those conversations, and I know both want to increase. I just, especially in the next couple of years, I don't see us ever having the ability to put a SRO in every school. I would love to see that, but I don't think that's necessary. Sometimes it's not necessary, except for the safety aspect of it, but it would be a benefit. So it's something we're working towards. I just can't give you a time on when we can get more in there and so.
And so do the dogs visit all?
Yeah, so each dog, right now we have a dog at the Coronado Complex, the Saguaro Complex, and the Chaparral Complex. Because of these partners here, if you guys aren't aware and it wasn't touched on, it's completely free, cost-free to the citizens of Scottsdale because of our partners with SUSD Foundation, the Farley Foundation, that we do not have to, this does not cost our taxpayers anything. So, and they do want to get more dogs in there. But just like with the dogs are great, and we could put dogs in every school, and the dogs would do good. But the problem is the handlers. We have to train the handlers, and to get SROs that have the time and dedication to really do that, to make it successful, because we want to make sure we put, so right now we're just trying to get complexes, so we have someone for each complex, but as Devin mentioned, we go to all the different schools to help out, and even if it's not in that complex and one SRO dog isn't available, they'll move to the next one to go from there.
And just to give you an example of that, I had, being at Mountainside, and DM complex does not have a dog yet. I had an issue last year where I had a student walk into the assistant principal's office having a complete and total, utter mental health breakdown. And she told us, thank God, that she was hearing voices and that the voices were telling her to kill her mother. So not kind of unusual, but obviously something we took seriously. Her mother was a superhero because we called mom, let her know what was going on. Her mother came down to the school and the child was terrified. And so, and actually mom came down and sat in this girl's lap. I was super impressed because I think some parents in the world would have been like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with this. You guys handle this. But mom was a champ. But one of the things that I asked mom was, hey, would it help if a dog came by? And it turned out this girl absolutely loved animals. And girl was like, no. Mom was like, yes, absolutely, if you can make that happen. So I called Devin, even though he's not in my complex, and he's not really obligated to come to the schools, and said, hey, this is what I've got going, can you come over? And he's like, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Actually, it was more like 15 because of where you're at and where I'm at. But he did come straight over. He dropped whatever it was that he was doing, came straight over to my school and brought Rocket straight into the office. And it made a huge difference helping to bring this girl out of the crisis that mentally she was in and down to a level where we could get her. And we were also utilizing district resources, getting her to someplace with mom that could get her the help that she needed. So these guys are willing to go, just because we don't have a dog at Mountainside, DM, Cheyenne, whatever, I can call any one of these guys, Alvin and Dave, and say, I have an issue, can you guys come over here? And they will drop what they're doing within reason and come straight over and help us out. So everybody covers everybody else. And we all try to do our best to get that make that happen.
And I'm going to say, I apologize for interrupting, but you kind of opened the door. It is not an inexpensive program that the foundation supports these dogs. And you know who have your own pets, it's not a one and done payment. There's sustainability for these programs. And each dog that you add, it is very expensive. So when the foundation asks for financial support, you know where it, is going to end up with, is supporting these dogs, because that is our mission. Dr. Sankos is the one who brought this proposition to us initially, but it is our mission to get one dog, one canine per learning community in the district. It is not just about the dog, but you also have to outfit the vehicle, correct, Devin?
That's what I meant. The dog's not the issue, it's the handler. The dog gets thousands and thousands of his own dog training, so.
But it's also the vehicle that has to be, if there is a crisis, from what I understand, and it's in the middle of the summer and the dog can't be present in that crisis, so it's.
Yeah, we have, there's the cost of the dog, the cost of the training, all the equipment we need. We have to outfit a vehicle with the special canine heat alarms and all that things in case, we respond to someone's house for an emergency and it's a situation where the dog can't go and we leave it in the car. But with our systems that we have, the car can stay running, keep the car at like 65 degrees when it's 120 outside. So there's a lot of, and then, vet bills, the dog food, whatever equipment, our insurance, all that stuff. So it is a substantial amount per year.
For instance, they take a lot of room.
How do you decide what schools get the dogs? Is it funding again, voting? Is it just your locations?
It's really the complex and so just like when we apply for officers to become SROs they have to go through a process. We do the same thing for Hamlet. They go through a process. That one's the only one that doesn't go through a process. It's the development program. But the others were all tested, went through a process, got picked, and then it kind of goes in there. And then we'll move, like Alvin originally was at Cocopah, but we moved him down to Coronado-ville, that complex with the dogs.
So if someone, say, Mike's at Mountainside, which is in the DM complex, if he goes through the interview process and was chosen to be the next handler, we wouldn't, unless there was an agreement with everybody, there's no reason to pull him out of Mountainside and put him in DM because he's already in that complex. But it could happen if everyone agreed and was like, yeah, I'll switch schools with you. And
Mike wants to do a lizard.
yeah, he wants a crisis lizard.
Actually, a snake would be better, but I understand that might not go over very well.
I like your lizard idea. I had a question about when you're educating the students on constitutional law. How do you handle, say, the Fifth and Sixth Amendments? What do you tell them?
Most recently, the presentations I've been doing are Fourth Amendment search and seizure stuff about, when you can be searched, when you can, all that kind of stuff for the seniors graduating and going on to getting their own apartments or places. A lot of the other ones, I feel like a lot of our teachers cover. I personally haven't done presentations on the Fifth and Sixth. The Fourth is kind of the big one that I want the kids to be aware of their rights and how to protect themselves.
We are honest with them. We're talking about the Fourth, and we're talking about when should you talk about this, when should you not, when all that type of stuff goes into if they're going to incriminate themselves in the case. We tell them this is when you ask for attorneys, this is when you do all that. So.
Yeah, we are brutally honest with them. Like, we'll hey, officer, how do I get out of a speeding ticket? Well, it helps by not speeding in the first place. But if you get pulled over, be honest, roll down all the windows, turn on the lights. If you're caught drinking, here's what happens. If Rocket, hey,
Oh, I was looking for another ball.
you can't have that ball either, bud. Sorry. Hey,
Even with like the vaping stuff, like this morning, I did one on the announcements talking about vaping. Like a lot of kids still think, especially because I'm at littler kids' school, so I'm in middle school, kids are like, this is why vaping. So like today, when I talked about it, it's not just it's all the chemicals. So I read out all the different chemical names during the morning announcements. These are the things that you are ingesting into your lungs and into your body. So we are just very honest with them. Like they'll ask us, but we'll be very honest with them. We're not going to sugarcoat it or lie to them. We're going to say this is what's going to happen. And I told them, like, you can basically destroy your lungs, and there's been kids that had to get double lung transplants because they destroyed their lungs from vaping. So.
April has a question, but I have a quick one. So I'm in the Arcadia Learning Complex, which is Phoenix, and so we have like our SROs say Phoenix on them. So do you guys collaborate? Is it one district-wide program?
We definitely work, so because they're under the Scottsdale Unified School District, we collaborate with them and work with them. But because they're at Arcadia, they fall under Phoenix Phoenix Police. So they could send kids to our youth and family, but not through a restorative justice program. So they don't have some of the same. Yeah. No, they do not.
No, because
Phoenix. So that they have to have their own policies. They have to follow their own policies and procedures. But we communicate and work together. But unfortunately, because it's in a different city, we can't handle that. Now, for like the crisis canines, they've approached us about it and what does it look for, and so if they are willing to go forward with that and find a handler, it's under Scottsdale Unified, and they could put a crisis canine.
Can you come, like if Arcadia needs it?
Oh, yeah, so.
absolutely.
Yes, yeah. That and same thing too, if, let's say, a worst case scenario happens there, they're getting some of our resources from Phoenix, Tempe, Maricopa County. There'll be 600 cops there within a half hour. So.
Even like Key was technically Paradise Valley, but the principal there was one of my old principals at Novo, so I have a very good relationship them. So any teaching stuff, I go over there and I try to help them out. Because Paradise Valley is a very small city and small police department. So Copper's been over there numerous times. They call me with stuff. There's certain stuff I can't really investigate if it's because it's their city. But whatever stuff I can help them with, since they're just down the road, I go there all the time. So we're always here trying to help other jurisdictions and everything. Same way with some of the principals in the Arcadia district, it's Phoenix, but I have really good relationships with them. So we'll go over and do presentations or bring dogs or whatever.
So I have a question about restorative justice. I was actually very intrigued by your comments and how positively you felt about that, because I've seen a lot of very negative comments from parents in the district, putting it down as a concept. So how do you speak to that when you talk about it with parental communities and others here who don't support the concept of restorative justice?
Really it's just education, because there's a restorative, when we were looking at restorative justice, I actually went to Hershey, Pennsylvania. They have a school out there that's all about restorative justice. And some people have a bad idea of what restorative justice is, and it's basically like just a feel good, we're gonna talk in a circle and hug each other and work stuff out. And we take concepts from that and we developed it into this program to, again, take some of the key takeaways that kids make mistakes, and unfortunately in today's world, everything is punitive in a lot of ways. So we said, okay, well, how can we adjust that? So that's how we came up with this program. Okay, and instead of sending them to the courts, how can we add these and send them their way? So it would be more of an education, and then if we need to look at somehow really explaining this to parents and what it is, we can definitely look into doing that. And because we have, our city can do a restorative circle. And if you guys aren't familiar with what a restorative circle is, it's basically sitting down with a group of people and letting someone know, really explain to them how they did wrong and how it affected people. And we've done one with our preserve where I don't even want to think, I think they were late teens or maybe in their 20s, destroyed some sorrel cactuses on the preserve, which is a big no-no. And it can get a lot of trouble for it, but they did a restorative circle, actual circle, where they sat down and really helped the people that committed the crime understand how it affects other people and the community and the environment and stuff like that. And it works, but it has to be done properly in a way. But again, we don't do we have the ability to restore circles, but we don't, as SROs, our restorative justice program uses some of those key concepts to help people learn from their mistakes and get the help they need to learn from those mistakes. Yep.
In the district, we'll do that as well. I've had counseling departments, particularly at DM, have parents request, hey, I'd like to do a restorative, what they call a restorative circle. And rather than have the police get involved, sure, no problem. Let's do that. How can I help with that? Sometimes it's, don't, stay away.
And
Okay, cool.
Restorative circles everyone has to agree.
Yes,
It's not
have to
they
participate.
can't force your student to do a restorative
Right.
circle.
So,
But it's an option and it's there for them, but it's not a key element of our system.
and to address what you asked about restorative justice, Sarge is right, it's absolutely about education. And I like to explain it in this way, I give them options, okay? We can do the restorative justice, and everybody has to buy in. The victim, the parents, the kid who did it, in some cases, the school has a say in it. I have a say, we have a say in it. Everybody has to buy in on it. I explain it like this. I can take the route where we can prosecute this kid, we can send him through the court system, and for a lot of stuff that we deal with, it's not city court, we're sending them to the county attorney's office because they're juveniles. And I say, if we go that route, if you want to go that route, I'm happy to do that. However, even though I'm not putting handcuffs on you, this is technically an arrest. You have to disclose this for the rest of your life. So if you want to go to one of these big fancy high schools like Notre Dame, you want to get a job, you want to apply for some special program somewhere, you want to go to college, whatever, you have to tell them, if they ask you, not have you ever been convicted of a crime, have you ever been arrested? The answer is yes. Because I know we do that, a lot of the police departments in the military will ask that way. So if you want to answer to this for the rest of your life, by all means, we'll do this. Or I have this restorative justice program where we can do almost the exact same things, except at the end of it, this doesn't count as an arrest. It's like nothing happened. We keep everything on file for a year because that's how long by state law we have to do that. But if someone asks you, have you ever been arrested? The answer is no. And if they come to do a search and ask Scottsdale, hey, have you ever had this kid arrested? Do they have an arrest record with you? We look at it, our records department looks at it, sees that it's restorative justice, and goes, no, actually, they have not. Done. We're finished. And when you explain it to parents like that and say, we are giving your kid an opportunity because we understand that 95% of the kids that come through our offices that we deal with specifically for this are one and done. They make a mistake and they never do it again. Am I right about that with the number? Close to that. So when you give them an opportunity and you can explain to the parents who understand how the world really works, most parents are going to jump at that and say, yes, absolutely, let's do that. It also helps that I was dumb when I was 14 and got arrested. I don't think my boss even knows this. I got arrested for doing something stupid, pulled up in front of the house, got out of the police car with my parents. My brothers thought that was the funniest thing ever. I still am not living that down. I wish we had something like this because I had to go down to the county attorney's office in Mesa. I got to do 10 hours of community service. And for both the military and the police department, through multiple background checks, I've had to admit, yes, I was dumb when I was 14. And I'm in my early 50s now. So I personally can use that, and I tell kids like that, because you get kids in your office that are like, this is the end of the world, my life is over. Time out. No, it's not, and here's why. Because I'm living proof of that. I still was able to become a police officer with this poor decision, but you have to own it. And now that you know better, I expect you to do better because that's what you have to do. So does that help?
The other nice thing too is if we have to do stuff through the courts, it's not like the kid's going to go to court in 2 days. It could be a month or so, especially if it's going to county. It could be 3 months, who knows? Versus this, they're pretty much in like 48 hours, they're already contacting somebody, they're already signing up for the program, they're already scheduling a meeting, they're already doing stuff because kids learn, like, they already moved on. If something happened yesterday, they got in trouble, okay, they're gonna move on, versus now they're doing that instead of 30 days, 2 months down the road, now they're going back and revisiting stuff when they can actually work on what they did and go through it now.
Going back to your baking comment too, so do you guys do you do any drug prevention, drug talks, and then do the dogs have any drug identification training? Like, can they sniff stuff out or anything?
So we do a ton of education. We'll partner with organizations like Not My Kid to have presenters come in and work with the kids. As far as the dogs, we like to joke that they just smell sadness. But yeah, they don't detect any drugs, bombs, nothing like that.
Don't tell your kids that.
Yeah.
That's a very useful tool for us.
We actually we tell the kids that they don't, because that's not the goal of the dog. The goal of the dog is to again bridge that gap and do whatever. And the first I think the first 2 weeks when we had Captain, everyone was staying away from them. They didn't know what to do with them, and then now everyone just comes running.
Yeah, we want anybody and everybody to feel comfortable coming up and talking to us and seeing the dog.
Yes, we do a lot of training, and we also do training ourselves to keep on top of all the new trends and stuff that's going on. But yeah, that's a whole other class that we can talk to the point. But yes, we and then biggest thing is getting those classrooms allow us to do those teaching and training and stuff. We have a lot of teachers and educators that want us in their classroom to provide that education.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you so much for coming. This was really interesting and fun. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we have some quick executive board updates, and then we'll be finished. The first one is our budget update. So we had some passive income come in, and we also had a grant come in. And then we had to add an expense. So the executive board voted on this. We now have a paid subscription through MailChimp to send out emails because they no longer offer the free version that meets our needs. And that's about a $20 a month expense. Okay, some other updates are it is time for the SBC Elections Committee. It is almost all established. We're looking for one more volunteer who is an SPC rep and ideally from the Saguaro Learning Community. So if you are interested or you know anyone else, please get in touch with me and let me know. Every 2 years, we review and update our bylaws as needed, and that happened over the past 2 months. And they are, the revised bylaws have been posted on the SBC website, and the Spanish translation will come soon. Okay, so upcoming events, we have a general meeting next month. It'll be right here in this room on April 29th. That's a Wednesday, and it should say PM, sorry. That's an evening meeting, 6 to 7:30 PM. I'll change it on the website before I post this. And the topic will be information technology. We'll hear from Dr. Watt, the Chief Technology Officer of SUSD. And we're going to talk about kind of like firewall, but also, so basically school safety and learning as it relates to information technology. So we're not going to talk about like internet bandwidth and things like that. Okay, so we're also working on hosting another PTO roundtable sometime in April. Kathy's over there, but yeah, so stay tuned for that. And then we have one final committee update for the, do you want to get this? Yeah, okay, so for the Gifted Education Committee, April's right there. So she's working on scheduling a parent meetup, probably around coffee, and that'll happen sometime in April. And then we wanted to get the message out about some parent resources that are available. So at the Gifted Showcase in March, one of the speakers was a SANG facilitator. And so SANG is, it stands for Social Emotional Needs of the Gifted. And they are highly trained, and they can kind of help you deal with like big emotions and blow-ups that might happen at home or at school with your kids. And it's all about kind of how to communicate with your children. And so the woman who spoke is a SANG facilitator. She's kind of an expert in techniques for how parents can support their kids at home and at school, all through communication. And she is offers kind of like these small book club things. So if that's something you're interested in, you can connect through it. We posted about it on social media, but you can also email me and I will connect you to April and/or anyone else that you need to be connected to. Do any reps have any announcements?
I have one. It was announced at the governing board last month. Dave May, Anasazi, Desert Mountain Community. We just completed a 4-year stretch where we are now an international baccalaureate school. So it's a big deal for those of you in the know. And it just goes well with Desert Mountain, Mountainside, and now Anasazi. So an entire K through 12 of the International Baccalaureate. It may have been lost in that governing board announcement last month because there was a lot going on, but we're pretty proud at Anasazi. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Any other announcements? Okay, so here is my email address, right? If you need anything for, shoot me an email and I'll connect you with what you need. Yes, Bryn.
Mrs. Leeds and I think 7 to 8 other teachers at Cocoa Pod took, I think it's nearly 80 students to Washington, D.C. And not only did they have a fantastic time, but they all came back in one piece. I don't know if the teachers came back in one piece, but it was an amazing trip by all accounts. I don't know if Sarah wants to add anything to it because both our kids went.
So this year, I think because because of COVID and everything, they decided to take all the kids that wanted to go. So they literally had 80 kids in DC, and they all came back in one piece. It was an amazing trip for all of them. So those teachers really deserve an extra round of applause. I mean, I don't know, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That's all I have. I'll see you in April. Thank you so much.